In Laserfiche 101. We're going to be looking primarily today at the Laserfiche web client. Basically, you can get to Laserfiche through any base internet browser at this point in time. So Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Safari, any way you want to get to Laserfiche through any base internet browser is quite possible. There are other ways of accessing the repository. There is a traditional desktop client that can access the repository, which some of the people on the phone might be used to, as well as a mobile version of Laserfiche, which will work on Android or iOS. And the only reason I like to mention that one is it does have access to the device's camera for the ability to take photos out in the field and upload them directly into the repository. So safe to say you can get to the Laserfiche repository from pretty much anywhere in this day and age. You can also put anything in Laserfiche. It doesn't care. You can put in audio, video, Word documents, emails. Most of the documents that we speak of are archived images, or a lot of the documents that we speak of are archived images. So they're a tagged image format, but you can put other kinds of document archive formats in there as well, including PDF-A, and as I mentioned earlier, tagged image format. Very easy to get information into the Laserfiche repository and then start browsing through the information. Everything in Laserfiche can be OCR'd, so optical character recognition, which will allow us to be text searchable. So anything in this set of minutes, for example, is text searchable. It can also be assigned a specific index if you would so desire as well. And it's all really kind of depending upon your department and your needs. Everything in Laserfiche can be secured too. That's one of the big questions that we continually get is that, hey, I want to be able to make sure my records are secure. So we have the ability to secure records all the way down to either the annotation level. And what I mean by that is if I put a redaction on this document someplace, which I'll just do right now, I can secure that so that only people who need to see through the redaction can see through the redaction, as well as the index and the documents themselves. So if you don't want people to see either specific pieces of the document, you can go ahead and redact it. If you don't want them to see the document at all, you can use security to lock that document down from view, or you can make it read-only for a specific set of users. So depending on the department is really what you're going to see when you log into the Laserfiche system. You're not going to see, everything from an admin point of view like you're seeing right now with my system. So just as an aside, it is a DoD compliant application for records management, so Department of Defense compliant for records management. If you're talking about the cloud version of Laserfiche, which a lot of people are either going to, considering, or already have, then it has additional compliances on top of that, as well as the ability to audit the underlying repository. So essentially being able to audit every action of the repository. So who opened the document, who viewed the document, who deleted the document, all that kind of stuff is also auditable in some of the newer versions and the older versions of Laserfiche. So it's safe to say that there is a lot of security and compliance around the different versions of Laserfiche. So to get documents into Laserfiche is very easy. It really is not that hard to do. You have the ability to scan. So the ability to scan, physical paper exists. You can also simply just drag and drop information into the repository if you want to, and upload that information into the repository. There also is a very tight integration with Microsoft Office. So if I wanted to bring specific emails into Laserfiche, I could do that very easily. There is a ribbon that allows me to save information from the Microsoft Office suite. Outlook being the most popular, that's why I went to Outlook. I can save this email directly into Outlook. So if I have a freedom of information request or something like that, and I have emails pertaining to that, I can go ahead and move that information, a copy of that information, into the Laserfiche repository, or just save an attachment into repository, or both. I can keep them both together. So there is a very easy way to integrate with Microsoft Office and get the information into the repository. But that being said, you can also, again, drag and drop. You can also scan. There's a variety of different ways to get information into the repository, okay? As I mentioned earlier, you can OCR everything within the repository. You can, of course, put an index on documents as well. So if we were to look at something like property records and then go into a specific folder for property records, and you can see how we lay out the folders. You can do it really any way that you want, very much like Windows Explorer. The base folder creation is pretty easy to do. And again, it's really kind of up to you and how you want to do it. You can put it in alphabetical, you can put it in year, you can put it in decade, it doesn't really matter. Of course, we have had experience with Laserfiche for 25 years now as a company, so we have a general idea of how to create folder structures, how to name documents, and how to index documents as well. So the index, though, can be applied to the document itself, and that can be something related to a property record, such as street number, parcel ID, permit number, et cetera, et cetera. All that kind of stuff can be used for searching in the Laserfiche repository. Also can be used to be downloaded as information, like as an Excel file that I can run a pivot table on. It can also be used to integrate, which we'll talk about later on. The ability to integrate with Laserfiche is a kind of baked into it. There is an available API to get to the underlying code if you wanted to directly integrate with Laserfiche. There's also something called soft integrations with Laserfiche, such as building systems, GIS systems, where I'll be able to match data between the two systems, such as the parcel ID between a GIS system and the parcel ID in the Laserfiche system, and be able to display the information. The real goal is for Laserfiche to be the records management system and to have a specific one copy to rule them all in Laserfiche, but be able to access it potentially from other systems is still there too. So I'm going to try to cut down on the number of copies of records that I might have within the Laserfiche system. Okay, and so integrations is an integral part of that formula. So again, the indexes are going to be department centric. And if you have any questions about that, I have some documentation on it too. If you wanted to look at what I will call, municipal centric kind of naming conventions, folder structures, indexes, et cetera. So, okay. To create a new folder, it's pretty easy. Just right click, create a new folder, and give it a name. And then you can start putting stuff into it. Okay, make a subfolder inside of it, et cetera. You all always goes back to the rights though. Do I have rights to do this here, or do I not have rights to do this here? And again, it's usually a hybrid where I might have rights to create stuff in my own folders, but I might not be able to make new folders in the clerk's minutes folder. I might have access to it, but only read-only access, where I can actually look at the documents and search them, but I can't make any underlying changes to the documents. So, okay. And there is I mentioned earlier, there is a lot of annotations. We touched upon redactions, but I can leave a note on a document. If I want to, I can stamp a document with even a signature. Again, I can lock these things down so that you can't make any changes to that document, as well as the annotation that's on there. They are overlays. If you do have, a lot of people have that question, are these making a physical change to the record? And no, they're not. These are overlays on the image, so the underlying image is intact. So there is the ability to also set records management, like retention schedules, cutoff instructions, that kind of stuff. I won't linger on that too long. Some people are interested in that, some people aren't. It depends on your record types. A lot of municipal government record types are permanent or semi-permanent, so you don't really have to worry about records management. But there are those in certain departments where it's critical that you have a specific life cycle, and you're able to track that life cycle for the record within Laserfiche. So you can apply that at the time of scan. You can apply that at the time of import. Whenever you want, essentially, you can apply that retention schedule. If I edit properties on the Records tab, I can set a filing date. I can leave that today, but I can also backfile it if I need to by hitting the calendar widget here. And I know a lot of times that, why we needed to start this 6 months ago, so I need to put it back. That's fine. You can do that with the calendar, and then you can go ahead and drop your cutoff instruction in, and then your retention schedule itself. And then when I save that, you'll see the life cycle come up, and you'll see when it's eligible for the cutoff and when it's eligible finally for destruction 3 years later. And it can give you information as to where it is physically, as well as where it is in the Laserfiche repository. Okay? And then there's going to be specific records management centric searches that are going to be something that you can run if you have the records, end up having the records management module within Laserfiche. Okay. Again, not for everybody. I'll just mention real quick a couple of things about records management, then I'll stop. You do have the ability to put a legal hold on the document. So if I put a legal hold on the document, then I don't really have specific rights to that document, aka I can maybe view that document, but I can't make any changes to that document until I lift the hold on that document. So you can see a hold icon, and this is the icon down here. Is I've gotten rid of the images because I've managed them to the retention schedule, but I still retain the metadata for the record. And a lot of people do enable this feature. It does allow you to see when it was destroyed. So if there is a freedom of information request, you can be like, we got rid of the records as per the retention schedule back in 2022. Okay, so that's records management. We're not going to talk too much more about that. We're going to move along in the Laserfiche demo here. So you can also obviously do searches in Laserfiche. That's the big thing that people really use Laserfiche for. Is try to keep track of, obviously, records from a records management standpoint, try to keep a master copy, and then be able to find all the information within the repository. And it's pretty easy to use Laserfiche searching. You can just type in a simple keyword, hit search, and that's going to run through a search within the repository. And it's going to return the word water in pretty much any way, whether it's in the name of the document, the name of the folder, or it's in the index, or it's actually in the minutes themselves. You can click on it, and then it displays the hit list of where water is in that particular document. You can double click it, and then that's going to bring up the document, and it's going to be able to, you can slap shot through all the other hits in there real quick, and it'll bring you to the next hit. It's pretty easy to use, pretty easy to understand. So there's several ways of searching within Laserfiche. That's just the text search. The ability to search specific portions of the repository exists. Right now I'm searching the entire repository, as you can see over here on the left. But I'm going to close these out real quick, and I'm going to run a specific search on a selected folder or subfolder structure. Say I want to search just the minutes. I don't care about the rest of the repository. Then I can drill in to the folder structure and then do the search and find just minutes that way. Okay, I can even go into the subfolder and say I just want to find minutes based upon maybe the building department or the DPW or something like that. So I'll just say building, planning, and zoning minutes. Hit OK, and then redo that search. Now it's going to bring back just those sets of minutes. So it's has that ability to cut down on the information that's returned in the search. And you can also save any of your searches. So people are like, well, I did that search a month ago, but I don't remember what I did. You can just save it, and then you can just drop it down in your saved search list, and you can go grab that search, and you're good to go. You're ready to rock. So you have the ability to save any search, and you can also then search the entire repository as well as search pieces of the repository. And if you wanted to add another one, and you could add another one into, say within, you wanted to look at another, I just want to look in one other folder, I can go into meeting minutes and say I want to look in Parks and Rec minutes as well. And then I can add that to the search as well. So you can create these very finite searches within the Laserfiche repository and return specific results based upon your search. Any of the wildcards work. So if you don't know how to spell somebody's last name or place name or something like that, you can just use the shift 8 on the keyboard or the star and then search, and it will still, of course, find the information for you. And that works in the front or the back of the record. But that is something that people use a lot in Laserfiche, but also within a template search itself. Like a template search is going to search, as we had talked about earlier, specific indexes. So if I wanted to find any indexes that might exist with 4578 as a street number, I can search the repository, and then I'm brought directly to that particular document based upon the metadata right here on the right-hand side. So that's the document we were looking at earlier, but I can get directly to that document through an index search, and I can always change out that information. And that's something that you also might use on handwritten documents. Like, some of our documents go back into the 1600s, and they're, beautiful calligraphy, cursive, et cetera, but hard to read. And so you could actually index that information through an index right here on the right hand side, and be able to locate information within that document as well. So we do have records going back to the earliest days of the founding of the country in Laserfiche public portals. So put anything in Laserfiche, anything from a record from 1650 all the way up to today. It can handle any kind of record, and it doesn't. Also, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but it doesn't care about like the size of the records as well. So if you have, specific things like maps and drawings and stuff like that, you can put that information into the repository as well. The size itself doesn't make a difference. So 38 by 48, go ahead and put that in the Laserfiche system. It doesn't care. So, and we know that that's probably one of the most popular things that people put into the repository are maps, because they tend to be all over the place. If you can even find them, they seem to be on somebody's desk, in a corner, rolled up someplace, in a basement, in an attic. So if you can get these scanned in, then it's much easier to research and look at them here in Laserfiche than it is to try to go find them in some random part of the building. So again, you can put anything in Laserfiche as far as file size is concerned too. So the physical dimensions of the document. So we always say from a postcard all the way up to a giant map can be put into the Laserfiche system. So you can always use the zoom tools too if you want to make it bigger and to get directly onto that document. So okay. All right. So to go over a couple more quick searches, you do have the date search, very popular search. So I can select documents that were created on a specific day, specific year, et cetera, et cetera. I can couple that with a user search, so the ability to search by a specific user or login account is also available. As I mentioned earlier, there's specific records management centric searches if you do go with a records management module at some point in time. So if I wanted to look up, records that were eligible for disposition equals destruction, I can do that real quick. I'll just show that really quick. It's a drop down here. I have a save search. So I'll say find any disposition that equals destruction and find eligible records for that particular feature. And I'll go and look in Laserfiche, and it will again locate that information. And I can then go to the records tab here, and then I can go ahead and get rid of that record if I so desire. It does have two sets of rights. One is delete. Delete is simply moving that to the recycle bin in Laserfiche. So the recycle bin here is emptied after a specific period of time, or some people have it set up to never delete. And it's only going to put records in that you've deleted or pages in that you've deleted, folders, etc. And you can always restore them from the recycle bin. If you have that second right we looked at a second ago, destroying, that's a purge right. That will purge that record permanently from the system. So there are additional rights within the Laserfiche repository, depending on your particular need within Laserfiche. So, okay. All right, so we talked about a whole bunch of different searches, base ways of getting information into the repository. What we're going to take a look at right now is, as James mentioned earlier, so great, I get my records into the system, I'm able to find them in a much faster fashion, provide information to constituents, et cetera, et cetera. Oh yeah, I'll mention that really quick. You can, of course, slapshot stuff out of Laserfiche. You can either download it or you can share it. And if I share it, I can just email that information out to a constituent. It does have the ability to set a password for HIPAA compliance. You can go ahead and set a password on that email, and that can send it out as a PDF file to the constituent. And if you do have cloud, there's direct share as well. Direct share is similar, but it's much more auditable. Direct share is going to temporarily remove a copy of this map that we have selected right here to a temporary storage location in the cloud, where the constituent or coworker or whoever will then see an email and then be able to grab that document from that temporary location. It's removed from the repository. The copy is removed from the repository. You can set it up to expire after a specific time. Again, put a password on it. You can send multiple documents out up to 200 megs at a time. People use it for freedom of information requests all the time, or legal things where there's an audit. Because I can see then through the email that the person on the receiving end received the email and then downloaded the documents from said email. So I get a notification when that happens, okay? So you have a lot more control using direct share. But you also do, again, have that. Even if you've got an old Laserfiche on-prem system, you have that ability to use the email function in Laserfiche as well. And you can email that information out to a constituent. You can also set up the public portals, okay? And that's what we're going to talk about really quick, is the ability to present information to the general constituency. And that's done in a variety of different ways these days, okay? So my goal is to provide a service to the constituency. And I can do it whenever using a public portal. I don't have to be in the office. It could be on the weekends. But it's also theoretically, hopefully going to cut down on questions. And the third thing, hopefully it's going to do is cut down on freedom of information requests, public records requests, that kind of stuff. So that, honestly, is something that people have been going to more and more. They get the records into the Laserfiche system. They manage them in whatever way they feel they need to. They can use records management. They can just put them into whatever folder structure they want to make, create templates, et cetera, et cetera. Once that happens, and that may, and I'm not going to like, oh, that's so simple. It's not necessarily simple. It may take years to get that set up the way you want it to get set up. And some records are extremely hard to put into the system, like maps, building permits, stuff that's all over the place, vital records, et cetera, can be challenging to get into the system. Once you get them into the system, though, again, you can provide security to lock the ones you don't want to show to the constituency down, and then you can provide access to the other ones through the Laserfiche public portal. And we're just going to look at a couple of ways now. And this is generally through everyone's website. So whatever municipality has Laserfiche public portal, then has the ability to just put a link out on their website. And then you hit that link, it will take you then into the Laserfiche public portal and then allow the constituent to view whatever documents that particular municipality has decided to make public, again, through the security feature in Laserfiche. By nature, though, this is read-only, okay? Automatically, as soon as you even come in through this public portal, it's read-only. You can't move folders, remove indexes, rename documents, delete documents. That can't be done through the public portal. You obviously have to be very careful as to what you release to the public, but once you have public information in there and you want to provide that, you can provide that in a very easy format. Again, the folder structure can be key, and I've always said to people, anyone from 4 to 104 can browse a folder structure. Can we do the fancy searches? Yes, you can. But you can also just browse a folder structure. Pretty easy to do. If I put them in logical folder structures, I want to look up permits from 1984, I can go into the 1984 folder and I can click on the links and I can look at permits from 1984, okay? And then I can grab a copy of that document as well, okay? And you can do it in different ways. You know, this is how Southhold's done it. They have provided a lot of information to the constituency. You can do it in different ways. So this is Benzie-Leedenau County in Michigan that has provided access to individual townships through the link. So if I click on this particular link right here, what that's going to do, it's going to bring me into the public portal, but it's only going to show me those kinds of records for that particular township. And you can see where you are, and you can browse the folder structure and then look up specific records if you so desire. Again, historical files, et cetera, whatever you want to put out there. It's the name of the game. Again, you do the same thing here. You can browse through the document. Very easy to browse through the document. You can either scroll, hit the fun little thumbnails over here, and then you can grab a copy if you want to of that record. So there's a variety of ways to provide the constituency access to the records through the Laserfiche public portal. Okay, you can even do it on a specific document, so it goes directly to a specific document or a specific set of documents based upon an address or a parcel ID, which we'll show you here in a second. Okay. The other way that you can interface with the constituency through Laserfiche is through the Forms application. And the Forms application can, again, interact with the municipality's website, but provide access to the constituency to submit forms into the Laserfiche Forms portal, and then that record can be then routed for approval in this particular case. I like this one's one of my favorite Laserfiche forms that's out there. It's just for making sure that you have the ability to take care of the chickens in your city. So you click on the link here, and what that does is slapshots you into Laserfiche Forms. And this is a nested form. So we'll actually do several different things. But if I'm interested in my chicken license, I click on the radio button, and then it switches over to that particular kind of license. And this goes to the clerk, this goes to the clerk, this goes to the zoning department. They can actually go to different places too. Okay, and I can read through the code, very customizable. The code right here is just a copy, and I dump it into an HTML format and then display it right there. So if I need to update it, I can. I can fill out anything with a red asterisk as a mandatory field, so I can collect the information from the constituent. I can upload documents, so my certificate of completion, I can upload it, sign it, CAPTCHA, and then submit it. This is all this stuff we're looking at is live, so I can't really fill it out. Once I did, though, I'd get a submit button. When I hit submit, it then goes into the city, goes to the zoning department. They get an alert. They've got one to look at. They look at it. They verify that that certificate of completion is good, and they can go ahead and they can send back out the permit for that particular homeowner. Everything is done electronically. Everything is trackable. Okay, it can be rerouted. So if Mary's on vacation, she usually does this, it can be routed to Jimmy temporarily. Or if Mary doesn't do it after a specific time period, it automatically gets sent to Jimmy to take care of it. Okay, so all of that kind of work can be automated. And again, pretty much any forms process that you might have in a municipality could be run through Laserfiche Forms. Some of them are pretty simple. Some of them get obviously much, much, much more complex, like licensing applications and stuff like that. Those can all be done through Laserfiche, so it can handle complex situations versus some of the more simple things like this. So, okay. Now we're going to take a look at the public portal again, but through integrations. I talked about a soft integration with Laserfiche, and this is one of those integrations. So this is a GIS system, and you may say, what are you doing on GIS? What does it have to do with Laserfiche? I mentioned it earlier that it's the records management system. I want to try to keep my records there, one copy to rule them all essentially, rather than having multiple copies, rather than paying for storage in multiple cloud applications. Can maybe keep the documents within the Laserfiche system, but still be able to access those documents through something like a GIS system. So I type in a parcel address, find that address, click on that address, and then what it does through the link layer in GIS over on the left-hand side displays the different integration points that it has, including Laserfiche. So anything that is legacy for this particular parcel, 216-4B.1, can be accessed through the Laserfiche public portal. I click on Laserfiche documents, and what that does is it launches the public portal, searches the public portal for that parcel ID, and then gives me all the documentation that's available for public consumption in the Laserfiche public portal. Boom. Just open it up, and there's the documents for that particular address. And then again, I can grab a copy if I want, or I can just read through it, double click thumbnails to move through the pages, etc., etc. Okay, so I'm just basically using the parcel ID to match between the two systems. Again, not a hardcore integration, a pretty soft integration, and it can be used in a variety of situations too. This is a blight tracker, and so if I scroll over this map and I click on a blighted property, what I've got is the ability to hit the link here, and that's going to bring the entire, like, what we've been doing with this particular property to take care of said blight. You can click on the link here, and that's going to open up Laserfiche public portal again, and it's going to bring up that particular document that we've been working on, and it tells you exactly within the steps where they are in the process. Okay, so I can see what's going on with that particular property. So that's Esri, and able to then use that link layer in Esri to allow me access to records in the Laserfiche system, again, using parcel IDs. You can use other things too. I'm not saying you have to use a parcel ID. Wow, we use address. Well, go ahead and use address. Totally up to you. Wherever the information matches, that's fantastic. You can use whatever you want to match that information up. So again, there's a lot of ways to integrate with Laserfiche. There's a lot of ways to interact with the constituency through Laserfiche, and then provide access to records through the Laserfiche system. So, you know, at its core, it's a document management system, right? So it's the ability to manage my records. It's a records management system. I can put pretty much anything I want to put in there that I've got to manage. Old records, new records, et cetera, et cetera. Paper versus electronic, doesn't make a difference. Put all that information in, make it searchable. But then I can also provide access to those records through the Laserfiche public portal, and provide access to the